Detection and rapid spread of a new clade of mpox in eastern DRC, its detection in neighboring countries that had not previously reported mpox, and the potential for further spread within Africa and beyond is very worrying. In addition to other outbreaks of other clades of mpox in other parts of Africa, it's clear that a coordinated international response is essential to stop these outbreaks and save lives.
Pretty wild, by the way, that Dr. Tedros is still in charge of the World Health Organization. Let that sink in for a moment. The WHO yesterday declaring mpox a global pandemic, the first since COVID-19 in the spring of 2020. The WHO making the announcement as a new variant of the disease continues to spread around at least 13 African nations right now. Joining us this morning to discuss, internist at Custom Care Medical, Dr. Frank Contessessa. Dr. Frank, great to see you. Good morning.
Morning, Rob. Great to be here.
I'm wondering, so right now the outbreak is concentrated primarily in Africa, although Sweden just reported their first case yesterday. Pakistan reported a case this morning. Should Americans be concerned?
Well, Rob, here we go again, right? I don't really think so. There's a lot of big differences here between the COVID pandemic and mpox. It used to be monkeypox. Somebody decided that it's mpox. I don't know what happened to the Anki, but apparently now it's just mpox. The big difference here is mode of transmission. Whereas COVID was an airborne illness that you could just be in the same room with somebody or, just in close proximity for a short period of time. Mpox doesn't spread that way. It's close physical contact. It's contact with bodily fluids. It's generally considered a sexually transmitted disease, although close contacts with patients can spread it. But I don't think we're going to be looking at the same kind of pandemic that COVID caused, unless the virus has changed and been altered to spread more quickly and easily between humans by natural or unnatural means.
Yes, unnatural means like in a laboratory. I think we can safely say that. I believe that monkeypox gets its name because originally they thought it derived from a monkey in the wild. I think
Correct.
That's the origin there. But we see, and I'm curious why, just your opinion and medically why they would do this, because I think people can understand monkeypox. They've heard that. That's not a new virus. But mpox, when I first heard that term, I was like, what is this? But this is language becoming woke. We can't call homeless people homeless. We've got to call them unhoused. Monkeypox is mpox. Illegal aliens are now dreamers or undocumented. Sex change surgery in your world is now gender affirming care. It's this sanitizing of the language, and I think it's got
euphemisms. They love the euphemisms.
Yeah. Any idea why they decided to shift the name of this virus?
None whatsoever, Rob, other than maybe it's two syllables less. I don't know. It doesn't really make much sense.
Yeah. So right now, again, these numbers as of this morning, 17,000 reported cases and right around 500 deaths. Again, all of the deaths have happened across 13 African nations, the majority in the Congo. Is there a worry that this will reach the United States at some point soon? Much like we saw with COVID. Don't forget, with COVID initially, we were talking about it like it was this virus in this far-off land called China.
Yeah, I see a lot of similarities to the lead up to the COVID spread, the widespread pandemic of COVID. Oh, it's just in a small area of the world, and don't worry, it doesn't look like it spreads easily between people. Oh, now it's spreading easily between people. But don't worry, it's over there, it's not over here, but now it's over here. I do think we'll see cases. But again, it doesn't spread the same way that COVID does. We're not talking about a high mortality illness here. If we think back to COVID, COVID across the board in 2020 had a 0.4% mortality, even though it seemed like it was much worse. The same true with mpox. It's hard to nail down a specific mortality rate, and I've been scouring data to try to find something like that because it's hard to collect data from these African countries. But it looks like a very low single digit, 1%, 0.5%. Yeah. And again, in people who are immunocompromised and in places that don't have the same kind of supportive care as a place like the United States or the Western world.
Dr. Frank, I just want to talk, here we are heading into fall. The CDC is once again recommending that people get vaccinated and boosted for COVID-19. And just a couple of days ago, Dr. Fauci came out and said that he has come down with COVID for a third time and he has been vaccinated 6 times. Why isn't anybody talking about this? And why are they still recommending a vaccine that clearly is not doing what it was supposed to do? I don't get why this is controversial at this point.
Yeah, I don't either, Rob. I do not recommend the vaccine for my patients. I don't really recommend that any of my patients get it anymore. Old, young, the immunity conferred by these vaccines is inefficient. It's short-lived. It's dealing with strains that are in the rearview mirror. And I would caution, by the way, that any mass vaccination campaign for mpox should really be looked at carefully, and people should think twice. If you want to target the high-risk populations, we can talk about that. But if somebody considers, widespread vaccine for this disease, I would caution against that. And as for Dr. Fauci, if you keep going to the same restaurant and the food is lousy, why do you keep eating there again?
That's a great point.
So if the vaccine isn't working, why do you keep getting it?
Dr. Frank, great to have you on, my friend. We'll do it again next week. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, Dr. Frank Conasessa, stay with us here on Wake Up America. More to come. We'll be right back.
Closed